What's up guys, it's the Senator, and in this video we're going to be counting down the top 10 best rifles in Rainbow Six Siege. Let's get into it. Okay, so before we get into this list, I'm just going to start off by saying that this list will only cover assault rifles used by the attacking class. So no defenders or defender rivals such as Jaeger's rifle. Sorry Jaeger, but you're just not included, even though your rifle is amazing. Also, I decided to leave out DMRs from this list because they're just a completely different beast of their own. It's hard to compare DMRs to assault rifles. So we're just going to be sticking to automatic rifles in this list. Now, this list was created by ranking rifles based off their damage, rate of fire, and recoil. And to fairly rank these rifles, I rank them all based off their fire rate, then I rank them based off the amount of damage that they're able to put out. I then combined these rankings, finding the rifles that were placed high on both the rate of fire and the damage rank. So this first part of the process relied just on statistics alone. However, it's really hard to get statistics based on how easy it is to control a gun's recoil pattern. So once I had the rankings, I adjusted the rankings based on how easy or hard it was to control that weapon's recoil. And I found that this is probably the fairest way to go about doing this. So anyways, enough of the preamble, let's get into it. Okay, so the number 10 on our list is Thatcher's AR-33. Now, when I went into making this video, I doubted that this is going to even make it into the top 10. But to my surprise, Thatcher's AR-33 actually beat out his L85. The AR-33 is a great gun. It stays just in the middle of the road in terms of damage and fire rate, making it so easy to control. Next on our list, in the 9th spot, is Buck's C8 assault rifle. Now, when looking at the raw data of his damage and fire rate, originally the C8 was put in the number 7th spot. But obviously, his recoil is just so horrible that I had to bump him back. His recoil is just so much to handle, and even some of the best players struggle with him and have to run holographics on his gun because you can't even see with an ACOG. So I felt that the number 9 spot was pretty fair. Moving on to the number 8 spot, we have IQ's 5.52 Commando. When taking a first look at this gun, you realize that the rate of fire on it is really nothing to brag about. The 5.52 Commando stands at a rate of fire of 690 rounds per minute, which is actually pretty much on the lower end. But what really makes the Commando stand out is the amount of damage that it can deal. When it comes to the 5.52 Commando's damage, out of all 20 rifles that are eligible for this list, it was in the number 2 spot when it came to just damage, with a damage of 48 points. So this moderate fire rate mixed with the heavy damage that it deals, it just makes it so much easier to control with great stopping power. However, the Commando might not be for everyone. If you want a weapon with a bigger mag capacity, you could of course use her LMG instead. When doing my research for this video, I found that it was actually one of the worst when it came to damage and fire rate, so I highly recommend that you pick the Commando instead. Moving on to the number 7 spot, we have Habanis Type 89. Now, when I first started this list, I was sure that this rifle would make it in the top 5. However, when I furthered my study into this weapon, I had to hold it back for 2 main reasons. The first reason being that the recoil on this gun isn't the most manageable. It's not ridiculously bad, but it does take some getting used to and some experience to know how to use it. The other thing that was really holding back this weapon was the low mag capacity. Now, at the beginning of the video, I didn't state that I would be factoring in mag capacity, but with a gun like this that shoots at 850 rounds per minute, this weapon just absolutely burns through its 20 round mag capacity. So overall, I feel that the number 7 spot is just pretty fair for this weapon. Next, we have the number 6 spot, and this spot goes to Zofia's M762. And honestly, there's not a single complaint that I have about this rifle. And in my personal opinion, it's one of the most perfectly balanced rifles in the game, and it's my personal favorite. And the reason I don't have it in the 1 spot is because this list is relying basically on statistics, and the statistics didn't back up this weapon being in the number 1 spot, it backed it up being in the number 6 spot. The M762's fire rate is pretty middle of the road with 730 rounds per minute, and does medium to medium high damage. But for me, what really makes this gun stand out is just the level of control that you feel while using it. And honestly, when it comes down to it, control is the most important aspect of any rifle in this game. You can't expect to hit your headshots if you don't feel like you have control over your gun. And to me, this is just the most comfortable gun in the game. Okay, we're in the top 5 now, and the number 5 spot goes to Maverick's M4. Now, while in terms of damage, Maverick's M4 does 1 damage point less than Zofia's M762, which was ranked lesser than the M4. However, the M4 can run 20 more rounds per minute. And to me, the M4 feels very similar to Zofia's M762 in terms of just recoil alone. So honestly, it comes down to the rate of fire on this weapon. And for that reason, the M4 beats Sophia's M762. It sits comfortably at the 5 spot. Now, as for the number 4 spot, it's a rifle that you would not expect to be on this list, because honestly, it's a rifle that you rarely play. And there's 2 main reasons as to why you rarely use this rifle. And the first reason being that it doesn't even have an ACOG. But the second being that it's on an operator that is rarely picked by those who are level 50 or higher, and that is Fuse's AK-12. While the damage of the AK-12 is sort of in the middle of the road with, a damage of 44, what makes it so good is that it fires 850 rounds per minute and is somehow still ridiculously easy to control. It doesn't make sense from a gameplay standpoint, and it doesn't make sense from an actual real-life ballistic standpoint with a rifle that shoots 7.62 rounds. But the AK-12 somehow shoots like a laser, similar to the way that you would see, Legion's SMG shoot. The only real downfall of this gun is the lack of an ACOG, but it's gone for obvious reasons. But had the AK-12 have an ACOG on it, there's no doubt in my mind this would be the best gun in the game. Okay, so now we're in the top 3. And real quickly, before I go any further, this is just a reminder for you to like and subscribe and hit that bell icon so you can be notified every time I post. That would help me out a lot. And most of you who watch my videos aren't even subscribed, so if you were to subscribe, that would just be fantastic. But anyways, moving on to the number 3 spot. And for the number 3 spot, we have Jackal's C7E. Not only does this gun have a very good rate of damage with 46 damage, this gun fires at insane rates of 880 rounds per minute, making it the second fastest shooting rifle available on this list. Now, while that is insane, the high damage mixed with a high rate of fire can make it somewhat difficult to control the recoil for this gun, but by no means is it just completely uncontrollable like other ones such as, Buck's C8. And personally, this weapon reminds me a whole lot of Hibana's Type 89, not only the way it looks, but just the way it feels. But it does have that advantage of being slightly more controllable, I would say, but it has that bigger magazine compared to Hibana's. But overall, I feel like number 3 spot's perfect for this gun. And in fact, just on statistics alone, this gun was put in the number 1 spot in terms of, being one of the highest in damage and being one of the highest in rate of fire. But the reason it was set back was obviously because it can be somewhat difficult to control the recoil on this gun, and that's the only reason that it is not in the number 1 spot. Moving on to number 2, we have Ash's R4C. Now, while it does have significantly less damage than Jackal's rifle at 39 damage, so why is it in the number 2 spot, you may be asking? Well, the reason being that in my experience, Ash's R4C is able to fire at extremely high fire rate. But not only that, it fires like a laser beam. It fires very similar to, Fuse's AK-12, but it's even easier to control. And if you were to spend 5 minutes with it, it would be just completely obvious as to why the devs decided to remove the ACOG from this gun, because it is just so fast and accurate. And that's honestly the reason why she has a pick rate of over 50%. Because not only is she extremely fast, but she has probably the most accurate gun in the game. Okay, finally we're at the number 1 spot. And if you've been paying attention, you'll have a pretty good idea as to what this is. This is a no-brainer. This has been the best gun in the game for the longest time, and the number 1 spot rightly goes to Twitch's F2. Even though it's in the number 1 spot, it may be surprising to you that it actually has the lowest damage of any rifle on this list and does a damage of 37. However, it is the highest in terms of fire rate. The F2 is the highest fire rate of any rifle in the game, firing at 980 rounds per minute. That's over 100 rounds per minute faster than the second fastest rifle in the game, Jackal's C7E. And again, in this game, fire rate is king. So when it comes to the recoil pattern of the F2, it is pretty odd. However, it's not too difficult to where one cannot learn to master it. And honestly, it's just the best gun in the game. And so that about does it. Let me know down below if you agree with the list or if there was some rifle you feel was left out. Also, let me know if you'd like to see another one of these type of videos where I go over maybe the SMG class. But anyways, remember to like and subscribe and follow me on my Twitch and Instagram. The links for that will be down below in the description. And as always, have a good one.